What the hell? This thing is floating.
Hey, Leo, we gotta go. Wow. How did you do that?
I just put it there.
Go! Go!
What? What the hell was that?
No idea. The street's destroyed. Let's get to my apartment and call HQ. There's a back entrance.
There are two types of games: trendsetters and trend chasers. When Gears of War introduced cover-based shooting back in 2006, it set a trend in modern action game design that is still evident to this day. A glut of Gears clones try to capitalize on Epic's tried-and-true design. Some games stayed close to Gears' methods, while others distinguished themselves and carved out their own niche. On the surface, Inversion looks to be another one of those Gears clones that only sets itself apart from the rest of the crowd with its gravity manipulating mechanic. And while that's true, Inversion's story is somehow the second best Sad Dad narrative in gaming, next only to Near Gestalt. Inversion is a 2012 cover shooter developed by Saber Interactive and published by Namco. Looking at Saber's Wikipedia page, they seem to be a small studio with branches that cross international waters. They're headquartered in New Jersey, but they also have a team in Russia who seem to have been behind Inversion's development based on the names in the credits. What I find interesting about all of this is that Gears clones were typically made by Western studios, with a handful of Eastern studios trying their hands at the genre, two of which I cover in depth with my companion video to this Thinkin' Bout, which I'll link now and at the end of this video. Inversion looks like it was a collaboration between a Western developer and an Eastern publisher, and you can feel the influence from both sides. The gun models, enemy designs, and military companions all feel distinctly Western, whereas the designs for the lead characters and the name of the city, Vanguard City, all feel like a Japanese studio's attempts at creating a generic American setting. Full disclosure, I'm being disingenuous about Inversion's plot, but only because the game itself is a bait and switch. Although it looks like Inversion is a sad dad story for most of the game, it's actually a love story. I'm not the type to just ship any pair of characters based on their proximity. This game is the best one-sided love story I've ever seen in a third-person cover shooter. Meet Davis Russell and Leo Delgado. These two men are our Marcus and Dom of the game, respectively. Leo initially comes off douchey, but even as early as this part of the story, the game suggests that there may be a reason for his overt displays of masculinity.
Wait, Davis, where are you going?
Leo, I told you already, I gotta run home for a minute. You can wait here if you want. I'll pick you up on my way back.
I got nothing to do with you, partner. I'll take a ride with you. So, why couldn't wait until the end of the day? Oh, wait! You were going home for a... Sorry, you think I can take a hint after all these years? Hey, I could wait in the car while you do your thing.
He has a break to do nothing for the next hour, and decides to spend that time with his on-duty partner. The way that he deflects whatever questions may arise over his interest in Davis's personal affairs, with a macho talk about getting a quickie. The remote chance that he might be able to climb the fire escape behind Davis's building and watch all that action. This scene is where Inversion establishes Davis's role as the sad dad.
That's really funny. I'm not going home for, today's Layla's birthday, you know, and,
Might not make it home till late, so I want to give her a present before bedtime. You know how it is.
He's devoted to his child to a fault, and when Leo criticizes him for broadcasting about how much of a dad he is, and has thus had carnal relations with a woman, Davis also establishes how far he'll go as Papa Bear if anyone ever threatens his daughter's life.
Being a dad changes things. Start looking at the world a bit differently.
Yeah, but sometimes you can take it overboard. Like that picture you got on the dashboard. I mean, how many convicts do you think you're gonna intimidate with all that happiness staring at them from the front seat?
Convicts. I'm not worried about intimidating cons. They know what I can do if they act out.
Watch it! Wow, that was close.
At this point, the game veers off the highway literally and figuratively, and sets up one of the more interesting premises I've ever seen in cover shooters. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This isn't really the intro.
I always thought I'd die in the line of duty. Caught in the crossfire of the endless gang wars or riots that were part of my daily life. But as a cop in Vanguard City, I was ready for it. Yeah, I was ready. I was one of the lucky people. I had a job, a wife, a child, a roof over my head. I could live within the specter of death if it meant leaving behind a legacy, a piece of me. But now I've got nothing. In a few minutes I'll be dead, and I won't feel the pain anymore. The pain of knowing that I couldn't even save her.
Can you still count? He's crazy. He's pigs, fellow, see?
This is the intro. The frame story is that Davis and Leo are hanging from crosses like they wandered into Nipton on a bad day, and Davis is recollecting the events that led him to his final moments, and how he'd taken for granted all those times he had to be a dad.
Sometimes I wonder if my life before this chaos ever really existed, or if it's just something I've imagined. Maybe this inversion of my life, this hell that has literally turned my world upside down, is just part of some warped dream or delusion.
There it is. Take a shot, y'all. This game is nowhere close to being high art, but I love a studio that can have the gumption to drop a line as dumb as this with that amount of conviction. This frame narrative is great because it establishes how little Inversion respects the flow of time or narrative pacing. It has its heart in the right place because the first thing it teaches the player is how to shoot in a shooter through a turret set piece. Now, while that sounds condescending, every game should follow the standard that it may be the first video game experience for a person for the sake of accessibility, and a turret section is a great method to teach the hypothetical inexperienced gamer how shooting works without adding any confusion to the mix like player movement. The turret set piece is a quick vignette that also serves to show one of Inversion's strong points, and that's the in-game physics and destructible cover. You can replay this section again and again, and you'll get varying results on how the building crumbles based on which supports you attack first. Then the game jumps back to the frame story. I like this set piece, it doesn't outstay its welcome. The second vignette that occurs during the flashback shows off the second big technical marvel that the game wants to flex, and that's the gravity shifting sequences. You can tell from the visuals that this isn't a AAA game, but you can also tell that this game has aspirations at AAA set pieces, and in showing off Davis' stagger animation. Davis isn't a wall of meat like Marcus Phoenix, or an experimental future warrior like Sam Gideon. He's a simple man, and his extremely casual design really sells that average Joe role. Fuck that stagger animation though. It happens way too frequently in the early game, and returns intermittently throughout the campaign, and always happens just when you've got a shot lined up. So yeah, Davis recollecting recent events while awaiting his impending death frames Inversion's narrative. So, back to our star-crossed lovers. Davis and Leo are making their way towards Davis's apartment to make sure that his family is safe.
Hey, did you hear that?
Let's grab the weapons. We have to find out what's going on here.
You're right, let's move.
They whip out what are most certainly standard issue shotguns for detectives and hoof it. If you couldn't tell during the flashback set pieces that Inversion was a Gears clone, Then hopefully this running animation clarified any misconceptions. So the duo round the corner and come face to face with Beefcake Quan Chi.
Hey buddy, I think you got the wrong door. The leather club's 2 blocks down.
Fuck you.
Let's give him a fight.
This set piece is interesting because you can actually shoot down civilians here if you're not careful, and Leo will call you out on it. Once they've taken out the enemies, Davis and Leo get a better look at the situation. I like the slow build-up that this chapter creates, with the incongruity of designs between the modern-looking city and the post-apocalyptic aesthetic of the enemies, and their rusted Bubba guns. Wait a minute. I think this game may have been inspired by Gears, guys.
Never seen a gun like this before.
Jesus Christ, he just chucked that gun over to his partner with that huge fucking blade affixed to the barrel like that. Then he sweeps him with his own shotgun muzzle. This game features a handful of characters who should be well trained in handling firearms, but recklessly expose one another to danger like all the time.
What the hell? This thing is floating.
I like this cutscene because it serves 2 purposes. 1. It adds another bit of unsettling unfamiliarity in the setting. First we get Mad Max cosplayers attacking the city, and now this milk carton is floating. 2. Leo tests out the distorted gravity by placing his loaded shotgun within the field. This is one of those character bits that establish that Inversion has a really compelling premise and setting that's populated by really stupid people.
That door. Let's go. We'll pass through the parking lot and...
Oh shit! Oh!
The build-up is so good in this chapter that I wish Inversion was more confident in its storytelling and didn't rely on the frame narrative as a crutch. It spoils too much of the plot early on and doesn't get the player invested. There's so many questions I've got in my head now. Where do these goons come from? How did they arrive at Vanguard City? Why are their weapons rusted and aged, but somehow also have red dot sights? Why do the M4s have G36 rails? Davis and Leo make their way to Davis's apartment to find his wife dying on the floor. As Davis tries to figure out what happened to his daughter, and Leo deals with the rush of emotions that he's experiencing, namely the sympathy he has for Davis's loss, but also the deep-seated disgust that he has for himself for even considering the fact that Davis is no longer tied to anyone. The enemies surround the 2 men. Just before he gets carted off to the slave camp, Davis hears his daughter crying out for him from the balcony, but gets knocked out before he can come to her rescue. At this point, Davis is a lump of coal and has lost all meaning without his daughter. Leo tries to look out for Davis while they're in this situation, but he just doesn't have the will to go on until he hears that a resistance exists outside of the camp that's been fighting the Lutadors. This is how we come to learn about the enemy's name. This part of the game drags the player into a slow walking segment to show how extensive the Lutador invasion has affected the rest of the surrounding areas. They've been excavating this quarry with slaves captured from other cities, and yet no one was ever aware of their existence. The game takes this opportunity to introduce Inversion's core mechanic, gravity manipulation. Right bumper places anything in your sights in a low gravity field, and left bumper lets you manipulate any highlighted floating object with not TK. Imagine the gravity gun from Half-Life 2, but with one extra step. The one cool thing I like about low grav is that you can actually pull enemies trapped in the air towards you and have specific melee takedowns. This is a really easy way to cheese simple fights. As the game progresses, you pick up modules from boss fights that let you lift heavier objects or precisely place things down without destroying them, which you'll never need to do. Clicking in right stick shifts gravity mode to high gravity. This makes objects and enemies heavier. Left bumper activates a shield that lets the player move around during firefights. This is super handy, and I like how it inverted common cover shooter tropes to reward risky playstyles. So here's where Inversion's plot starts to get frustrating because of the whole stupid people in interesting circumstances thing it's got going on. The Lutadors force Davis and Leo to go down the mineshaft and use the gravelings to manipulate gravity. But then, once the two are deep enough in the cave, the Lutadors there decide to shoot at them. Why go through all this trouble to place them in the mine and give them the ability to throw rocks if you're gonna kill them anyways? When the two get deep enough into the cave, a drone pops out of the ground and becomes the first boss fight of the game. It teaches the player to stay in cover, but also that throwing objects with low grav deals more damage than bullets. Just as the two are about to leave the hole where the drone came from, Lutadors capture them again. Why didn't they just jump into the hole and use the gravelings to cave it in? Why is everyone so quick to surrender in this game? When the two return to their cells, they tell the nearby resistance member of what they saw, and the guy plans their escape by giving them a lockpick and sacrificing himself by calling a guard into the unobserved room so that he can be taken out back to be killed while Davis and Leo go the opposite way and leave through the window that hasn't been secured.
It's time. Just stay calm here. I know what I'm doing.
Guard! Guard! Hey! Get over here! Come on, you hairless fuck! I'm talking to you! Come on, you dumb prick! Mend effect! You hear me? You mend effector!
Why did he have to distract the guard that wasn't even in the room? Why not just leave with Davis and Leo? This leads to a set piece involving cover and stealth. While this is happening, Davis is suffering from blood loss due to injuries he suffered while fighting the drone. The two men jump some guards for their guns, and Leo sets a tone for their relationship as the one who's to carry all the weight, while Davis remains useless and self-absorbed. After this boss fight, the two reclaim their gravelings and Leo patches Davis up. The rest of the chapter focuses on their escape from the camp and shows that Leo was willing to bottom for Davis. Like, get used to this shot. And get used to this shot as well. The team went through great pains to make these animations, and you're gonna appreciate them.
Yeah, so listen, this is where we split up. Thanks again. Couldn't have got out of there without you.
Are you crazy? I'm going with you. I'm gonna go find your daughter.
No, I'll move faster on my own.
Like hell you will. You just said so yourself. You couldn't have got out there on your own. And now you're thinking of going in there solo? No, we're partners.
You sure about this?
No, not really. But I got your back.
It's only been 1 month, and the city already looks like it's The Last of Us. Keep in mind, these guys are not zombies, they're like Mad Max raiders. Davis and Leo make contact with the Resistance and work with them to find out where the Lutadors take children. This is where the game kind of feels the most like Gears, with the additional 2 men in the squad, but it surprisingly doesn't last longer than a chapter.
That shit freaks me out.
I'm sure they'd say the same thing if they visited your church.
Quiet. Quiet.
All looks clear to me.
Keep it tight. We've never been in this deep before.
The city segments are where the game's art team really gets to flex and place art installations and playgrounds into arenas. It's also where the game shows off its gravity platforming. This mechanic is very touch and go for me. Visually, it's interesting, and there are places like the library where it really gets to shine. But then you gotta have fights during these moments. These fights suck because you're trapped moving on a vector at a fixed speed, and it's easy to die mid-flight if you haven't taken care of the enemies. However, the game has inspired moments where you'll be fighting on the outer wall of an apartment building, and the enemies shooting at you are standing at an orthogonal angle. As far as gimmicks go, I think Inversion did a great job exploring theirs. When the squad comes into contact with a gun emplacement, Davis and Leo meet their Resistance buddy again, who apparently managed to escape as well.
Hey guys, looks like my get out of prison card came in handy, eh?
It's Joe! How did you manage to escape?
When you guys started shooting the place up, they seem to have forgotten about me. I was already down in that hole when you guys blasted it shut.
Come on, let's go!
I couldn't tell who this was without the dialogue because he looks like every other soldier in the game. Gun emplacements require stronger weapons, and the levels usually provide stuff like single-shot rocket launchers and exploding barrels underneath the emplacements whenever that happens. Inversion has a healthy amount of enemy variety. Light infantry, medium infantry, heavy boys with miniguns that are the best power-up weapons in the game. Even Davis recognizes how good they are whenever he picks one up.
Can't wait to use this. This is some real firepower.
Boss fights amount to big targets that require gimmick tactics. Later on, they include ads in the form of slaves who have lost any sense of identity and will just attack based on what this human mancubus commands. These boss fights also feature energy shields that cancel out any damage and require you to listen to Leo's calls or to pay attention to the enemy health bar to let you know when to stop running and to start shooting. On normal gravity, gotta give it up to the game for sticking to its theme even in its difficulty settings. There was a lot of trial and error required in these fights. They're not impossible so long as you remember that you have gravity powers to supplement your guns. It's easy to use up all your ammo in one burst and leave yourself exposed to fire while reloading. As the story progresses, it's clear that Davis is placing his mental health entirely on whether he can find his daughter alive, and that Leo is walking with a ticking time bomb.
Not so tough without all that armor. Are you? Ever seen this girl?
I'd answer him if I were you. He's a little unstable right now.
This is my daughter. Have you seen her?
When did you last see her?
Before the invasion.
Oh, man. You're not gonna find her. She's gone.
Shut your mouth!
Easy.
You're not the only one to have lost someone. Look, there's a chance that they took her to Camp Takal with the other children, but
What's Camp Takal?
we're not really sure. We think it's their headquarters. We were on a mission to try and find it, but now we've got no transport.
Davis. Davis, hey. She's not your daughter. She's not yours. Just leave her in peace.
How did they manage to stay alive for so long? And with a child?
Leave them. We need to move, Davis. Let's go. You won't find your daughter stirring up the dead.
D, let's go. Come on. You're not gonna find it here.
You're all right. It's okay. What's your name?
Peter.
You're gonna be okay, Peter. We got you. Hey, you're safe now.
I want my mom and dad.
When did you last see them? Your mother and father?
In there.
Have you seen this girl? Her name is Layla.
I can't remember. Maybe? There were so many children. Hundreds.
There? In the camp?
Yes. Then they were gonna take all the children to the station. That's when I ran away. They say it's a very bad place.
Where's this station?
Easy, Davis.
As the two approach the Lutador camp, they notice the presence of these large cells that may be the reason for why gravity is so screwed up. When they get to the heart of the enemy camp, they find one of the excavators that the Lutadors use to erupt from the ground and take it down to the center of the gravity rift. There's a really subtle transition in the level design here, where the rusted Mad Max aesthetic that the Lutadors prefer give way to clean, high-tech superstructures. This culminates into a mad dash towards a slick-looking bullet train. Every cover shooter since Gears has featured a bullet train, with the hopes that it will finally lead to the answers behind this mystery, as well as the whereabouts of Davis's daughter. Two bros chilling in a train car. 6 feet apart because they're not gay.
Where do you think this train leads? I hope we're going the right way.
We are. You saw all that activity back at the station. This has gotta be the way.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We've gotta be right on her trail. We'll find her.
Look. Let's just focus on stopping these guys first. It's the only way everyone's gonna be safe.
You can focus on saving the world, but I have one goal here and only one. I'm gonna...
Hey, what's this? Looks like a schematic of the train. What the hell is this a picture of? Hey Davis.
Attention.
Whoa, hold on.
The train is arriving at Zone 143. Please remain seated as the train comes to a full and complete stop. Attention. The train has arrived at Zone 143. The train will depart for Zone 144 in 30
Hey,
seconds.
Leo, come on, let's go. Let's move.
Shit. More fighting, more floating, more bottoming. And this leads to the hardest boss fight in the game, in my opinion. This drone has ads that will attack everywhere and distract you from the fact that the drone is sending smart bombs to just kill you in one hit. I didn't capture my eventual victory, but it was the hardest fight I'd had yet. Some fights were more frustrating, but this one left me hurting because I barely had ammo for most of the fight. Also, at this point, the bubble weapons from the early game now give way to plasma rifles. So now we get to the real meat of the story. At this point, I want to warn you that the rest of the review will go into spoiler territory. They stop at this time, but if you want to see how far the rabbit hole goes, then keep watching. So when you saw this room and saw those 2 mech frames with the control panel, were you hoping for a mech set piece? Nope.
Shit. What's going on? So what does it mean, D? That picture. And the shuttle. What the hell is this? Are we in space? We on some goddamn spaceship?
If we're in space, then how did we get here? Did that train or shuttle take us here? Our land. Our world. Where the hell is it?
Oh, no. No, look! There! What the hell? No. It can't be. That's where we live? Our home is some dome on a spaceship?
My God. It is. How could we not have known?
Because we're fools, Davis. The whole lives have been a fucking lie.
Come on, Leo, take it easy. Everything will be okay.
Okay? Don't tell me everything's gonna be okay. I mean, what the hell are we fighting for? To rebuild a goddamn dome on a fucking UFO? I mean, what's the point of all this?
Leo, you need to calm the hell down. Now, I'm going out there to find my daughter. And you're gonna help me.
No, D. We're not gonna find her. You're a goddamn fool.
Don't you fucking say that! Now she's out there. We're going after her.
I can't believe Inversion has been flat Earth fanfiction this entire time. I screamed at my monitor when this dropped. Davis and Leo come from a biome similar to a modern 21st century, and it's connected via tram to the other biomes. The drones that the two have been fighting thus far are caretakers for the entire space station. The two posit that every biome was at some point more or less similar to theirs, even the Lutadors. This is why their guns look so modern, despite looking so worn out. This explains why they know so much about this tech, even though they shouldn't, based on their post-apocalyptic designs in pidgin English.
Stop! Gonna get it! Oh, shit! Whip it!
Leo is legit having an existential breakdown over learning that he's a character in a Twilight Zone episode. And Davis, once again proving how self-absorbed and shitty he is as a friend and potential love interest, is still too caught up in the idea that his daughter is still alive and that he can still get to her.
Those doors are gonna open. We have no idea what is on the other side. Crazy.
We passed crazy a long time ago.
They could be waiting for us.
Yeah?
Come on, slowing down. Get ready. You really want them to tell Layla that we came all this way and then got our asses blown up because we were two cowardly motherfuckers?
You lucky bastard. Lucky. Not exactly a word I'd use to describe myself lately.
This man is basically having the same narrative arc as Dad Near after the time skip, but without the early game to establish his character as a devoted dad. It's just told to us based on the things he says and the fact that he wears his daughter's friendship bracelet. Can I have a friendship bracelet, D? Hell, this game in its twist is more or less Spec Ops The Line, but so much better when it comes to pulling the rug out under the player, because it really is unexpected and the game doesn't answer questions so much as it leaves enough on the table for a player to draw inferences based on the new information. The game never plot dumps about how this all came to be and where the ship is headed, and as far as Davis or the player are concerned, none of this matters because he still needs to get to his daughter.
You explain how they control gravity.
It's not gravity. It's gotta be some other force, something we haven't found yet.
Someone want to tell me how a bunch of shit-breathing barbarians figured out how to control a motherfucking force of nature?
Maybe that's just how things are on their planet. You think they come from another planet? You got a better answer?
Hey! Last time I checked, ain't none of you professors. So don't waste your time theorizing. We've got one job and one job only. Blast some motherfuckers back to wherever they came from.
Come on, you gonna weigh in on this?
Don't know. Don't care. All I know is someone's gonna pay for taking my little girl.
Amen to that.
So the two make it to the Ludador biome, and it turns out that living in Doom Eternal tends to turn people into Mad Max Raiders. They eventually make it to where the children are kept, and this is really Davis's shining character moment.
Help us, please! Get us out of here, mister!
Oh my God. Children.
Jeez. I don't want to know what they've been doing with them down here.
Help!
Where is she? Where is she?
Look, they're not like
Layla!
the others. I told you they would come.
Layla! Layla!
They're going to take us home. Help us, please!
All in vain. It's all in vain. She's not here.
Help! Help!
Is that her? Leo, did you hear that?
He has the opportunity to rescue all of these children from the Ludadors who use them to replenish their stock because reasons, and he shits the bed and gets captured again. And so, here we are.
Lords, take this offering! Moshe sent me! You people die! Who dares? Kill them!
Come on, move it! We'll take care of the Ludador. You go get their leader. He's the key to all of this.
Look! He's trying to escape!
The resistance comes, and Desu ex-Manginas Davis and Leo from certain death. Then the two go after the leader of the Ludadors, Kilthair, who I can only assume got his name as an anagram for Hitler with a slight suggestion of kill at the beginning. He is the most enigmatic character in the game. He talks in the same pidgin English as every other Ludador, but is somehow technologically adept enough to interface with the station's computers, gain control of the security bots, use a shield that can regenerate with the help of the station itself, and knows how to set the station to self-destruct. He's pretty easy so long as you're properly equipped. Save a minigun from the bullshit double mech boss fight near the end, unload it onto his shields until he becomes immune, attack the core to stop the regeneration, and rinse and repeat until all of his shields are gone. Then he goes down like a bitch.
Fuck, Davis! Watch out!
The shutdown process has been cancelled. Normal work reactivated. Estimated arrival, 8,273 hours.
The ship, or what was left of it, was saved. I wasn't sure how long it would hold up, or where it was headed. But for now, at least, those of us that were left were safe. As for Davis, he was gone. Just vanished. At least I never had to tell him the truth.
Oh my god, was Leo gonna confess to Davis? Oh, no, he just knew his daughter was dead the whole time and lied to him so that he wouldn't turn to mush so early on.
D, let's go. Come on. You're not gonna find it here.
Look, let's just focus on stopping these guys first. It's the only way everyone's gonna be safe.
You can focus on saving the world, but I have one goal here and only one. I'm gonna...
Hey, what's this? Looks like a schematic of the train. What the hell is this a picture of? Hey!
Post-game credits shows a hand reaching out from the pit, and it's left up to the player to guess whether that's Kilter or Davis. So yeah, this game is Kino. Inversion had one of the most engaging plots I've ever experienced from this kind of game. It's available on Steam, but be warned that it's a technical nightmare to run on modern machines. It crashed again and again whenever I reloaded a checkpoint, and after trying out every possible solution I could find online, I learned that the fix was to set all video settings to low. Sorry, texturing department, but we can't appreciate your work 8 years later because PC gaming and Windows 10 are fickle mistresses. Should have guessed that would be the case when I saw this mark of quality. Inversion is definitely worth playing and frequently goes on sale. Play on easy. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean low gravity. Because the gameplay ain't new, we've clearly established that, but the story is one hell of a ride.